Hey. Hi, Daniel. Thank you so much for joining us for this Color Vision interview. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Hi, Lucas. Pleasure to be with you.
A pleasure for me too. Before we begin this interview, I wanted to ask you, what color could define your mood in this moment?
Obviously the blue.
The blue.
Yeah, always the blue. Always blue. I'm very constant with blue. Yeah.
You're very constant with blue. Let's do the
There
interview
you
with the
are.
blue color. What about that?
Yes.
And tell me, what memory does this color trigger for you?
The first blue is a sky blue. When I was a little baby in the carriage in the south of France, and my mother used to, walk me out, and I remember the blue of the sky. Yeah. In a very comfortable position like this.
The peaceful blue sky.
Yes, and the first aesthetic shock was when I saw the sea for the first time.
Okay.
The Mediterranean Sea, yeah. And the last one from my childhood, I had a blue angel over my bed. And I used to ask him a lot of things every night before I went to bed. Yeah.
We all had those kinds of little stuff.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's great. And what do you do in life, Daniel? What is your field of expertise?
Well, let's say I'm a very eclectic person, so I'm doing a lot of very different projects. In many different fields. So I have a big crossover, of things going on. So a very eclectic person, yeah.
Okay, that's great.
The main field is art and culture.
Okay, perfect. And so, and what is your passion in life?
Love. It's a passionate love, yeah. Love and music.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. And you're in Seoul. You told me. How are you personally navigating this pandemic? How is it going for you?
Well, it's quite a satisfaction to be in Seoul right now, because the situation was very well managed.
Right.
And we had, since the beginning, we had 248 people who died in the last 4 months.
Yeah.
So, and we have around 10,000 cases. So it's quite exceptional the way they manage it here. And it's a big consternation for me to see what's happening in Europe and in the States, all over the world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's complicated. It's complicated.
Yes.
And so, in a few words, what is for you the vision for the aftermath of this pandemic? What do you think the world needs after this?
Well, obviously, good management. For example, in Seoul, there was a lot of. First is the democracy here. And there was a lot of adhesion from the public to participate, to the effort. And so there was no problem of consentment for the tracking and all these things. There was a lot of chance too, because just before the pandemic started, there was a simulation made in Seoul last November.
Yeah.
So one month before I started, they had they had a plan, they had a method, they had a blueprint for the, with exactly the same case. The case was a couple of young Koreans coming back with a very strange, lungs disease from China. So they knew what to do. It was not easy because, some political forces are, struggling to destabilize the regime here, and in the same time they succeeded. They succeeded because they use a lot of transparency.
Yeah.
They use a lot of brain. They have a different way to cope with all the digital world too. So the biotech the IA, the 5G, all this new tech were completely used in the best way to manage the situation, and it's quite a success here with the full consentment of the population.
Yeah, that's a good compromise between the
yes, and it's not like saying, you know, with a very Western ethnocentric point of view, that saying the Asian are very disciplined, you know, with a kind of submission, and not at all, you know, not the Korean. They are not, you know, they are very Latin people, and they are not disciplined more than the European, you know, but they have a different culture to deal with crisis.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, it was a very poor country 50 years ago, many wars, dictatorship, you know, and sanitary crisis as well, you know, with a previous virus. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's actually it's a great story, because we read a lot. I read a lot about South Korea, and it's very interesting to see how the rest of the world can learn from them. And actually, do you think this crisis will create new values for our society? How do you think this will change the way human beings interact?
Well, I don't think we need new values, you know, because we already have values, but we don't respect them. We don't, you know, observe them. We neglect them. We ignore them. So. You know, it's liberté, égalité, fraternité, solidarité, you know, all these things that we should observe now. Yeah, completely. Yeah,
right.
In a real way, because, you know, about the consequence of the pandemic, there is no need for a way back to abnormal. You know, it was completely abnormal. You know. We have a very toxic presence here, and we are responsible for the, you know, climatic crisis, and so we should behave in the right way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because, you know, there is a reduction of the territories, there is a reduction of the resource, and so species, you know, are disappearing because they cannot live in their own space. And so we mingle, and at one point, you know, some species shouldn't mingle. So there are a lot of transmission right now.
Yeah, for sure. And from a creative perspective, which is yours, how do you see yourself contributing to this change? What will be your strategy? And do you think your way of work will change with this?
Really, we are not going to change our way to work, because, you know, basically my work is with my head, my computers, recently with my hands to build our installation. But what we are doing a very precise thing. So I don't know, I hope we are considered as useful at the very humble level, you know, but what we are trying to do is we are doing this installation where people are invited to make a slow walk in slow motion, and with headphones in a double spiral. So it's a very immersive and meditative experience. And the result is all the people who are making this experience, you know, they get some kind of a high, because, you know, they have a different perception of themselves. So it's a meditative, you know, experience where people, you know, return to themselves, and they get a better, better knowledge of themselves. So a better observation of themselves. So it helps to observe the others as well.
That's awesome. I hope I'll be able to try that someday.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, be my guest.
And for you, what is your vision on human beings and their environment after this?
Well, you know, when I was a kid, I was very obsessed with this story of the pandemic. You know, this is a very old thing for me, and I thought that only two events will be able to, you know, unify the humanity, which was the arrival of, you know, ET or a pandemic, but nothing is sure. And, you know, so my vision of humanity is I have two eyes, you know? So I have one eye for the good one and I have one eye for the bad one. You know? So when you open your two eyes, you see them, you know, mixing and with a big mix of the gender as well. And so I find the humanity very cruel, very unjust, you know, very violent, you know, in a certain way. I think, you know, too much ignorance, lack of education, for a lot of people, a lack of basic things like, you know, eating, drinking, you know, having a roof, or, you know. So yeah, the situation is pretty scary for a lot of people. And I think the pandemic is going to, you know, make a lot of pressure on, you know, social patterns. So there is a real need to participate, you know, in our own way to a change. Yeah, we need a change. That's for sure, you know. That's obvious.
That's for sure. And right before you were talking about how South Korea handled technology to solve the problems. 5G was an example. From a creative perspective, how do you visualize the digital transformation that we're going through?
Well, you know, I've been in new media and the digital field for quite a long time now. And so I'm really amazed by what the people are doing with it. But recently, I'm much more interested by the presence, you know, real presence and real exchange of energy with the presence. So my work right now, I'm using digital tools.
Okay.
I'm doing some immersive installation, you know, with interactive process and all these things. But the core of the experience is based on a real organic presence of the material, of the people, and of the energy around. Yeah. So I'm very afraid that one of the consequences in the next, you know, few years is going to be the restriction of circulation, because you know, people like me, we are gypsies. You know, it's like if I have a merry-go-round and I have to go from a city to another to show it and to invite the people to try it. You know,
yeah.
So yeah, I hope I will be able to circulate again with my merry-go-round. And yes, exactly.
Okay, Daniel, this was very insightful. Thank you so much for your time, for participating in our interview. And I hope we can have a talk very soon again.
Yes, thank you. And I pay all my respect for the people, you know, who have been on the front line, who have been, you know, sacrifice themselves to help the people and to cure them, you know. Yeah.
That's great. Absolutely.
That's my last thought for them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Daniel.
You're welcome, Luca.
Take care.